Hi everyone, greetings from my home in Cape Town. I wanted to address a very important topic that is circulating in social media right now. And I think is really, really critical for us all to just zone in on for a second. So I'm taking a time out from everything else I have to do today to address this because I think it's just that important. Okay, so there's a lot of chaos in the nutritional health category, as you know, but particularly it seems now that there are so many authorities of sorts. For as long as I've been in the health field, there has been so much chaos, so much confusion, so much misinformation about what we should be eating, what we shouldn't be eating, what different symptoms are caused by, and how they are to be remediated. There has never been a time, even in my 20-year practice, where I've seen so much confusion and so much chaos ensuing. And I really want to address those key issues now with you, because I don't want you to be in a state of confusion and chaos. I want you to be clear and confident and knowing that you're on the right track. So, what I'm getting from all these circulating conversations in this chaotic category right now is a lot of people who are finding themselves deeply disgruntled and dissatisfied by a plant-based diet. Whether it's because they're finding they're having joint pain or bloating or allergies or symptoms coming up they didn't expect, they're aging prematurely, all of these factors. And then they'll announce that they've either gone on to a strict meat-based diet and had all this success and they've remediated all their symptoms, or they want to deride a plant-based diet because the way they've executed it hasn't worked for them. Now, what we need to do is bring some sanity back to this conversation. Remember that sanity means cleanliness, and the work that is going to heal you is going to restore functional order and functional cleanliness to your body. Chaos is the opposite of order, and the symptoms that people have, whatever they're doing, whatever they're eating, wherever they are on the planet, are caused by filth. It's accumulation of matter, and in that matter, pathogens grow and noxious gases come forth. So if we can just come together on the understanding, the context, that a body needs to be in functional order and have functional cleanliness in order to operate properly, then we have a wonderful starting point with absolute sanity. Sanity, beautiful sanity. Before you take advice from anyone, first of all, look into their eyes. Look at them. What do you see? Do you see health? Do you want to emulate what you see? Are they a walking, talking expression of what they do? Are they genuinely happy? Do you maybe need to spend more time with them to know, maybe more than just a video, maybe not just a phone consultation where you don't see them, where you don't see their home and their setting and the inner workings of their life. It's no good taking advice and guidance from somebody who A, can't apply it, or B, is applying it and it's not working. And many of the people that are sharing their great epiphanies around how their plant-based diet has not worked for them have been touting these plant-based diets for a very long time. And then all of a sudden they turn on a dime and they say, oh well, sorry, I was actually really suffering and now I want to come clean on that and share this whole new approach with you. So now follow me to this next chapter of my life, and I can share more misguided information with you. I have been doing this work for 20 years. I started when I was 25 years old. I'm now going to be 45 this year. I live and breathe this work. I started actually before 25, but like really, really seriously digging my heels in and nose to grindstone at 25. Right after I had my first daughter. And I can say with absolute, direct, pure honesty that I am completely asymptomatic. That means I have no symptoms. Okay, I'm not going to talk about plant-based diet just yet. I just want to tell you who I am and what I'm about and why I feel like I have not only the credentials but the responsibility to share this information with you, because really my only reason for being is to be of service. I've had my career, I've had my children, I've had my, everything the world deems worthwhile and of value. I've had it all. I'm not looking for that. I don't need anybody's accolades. I don't need anyone's reinforcement. Anybody's, I don't need anything. I need to do what I'm here to do, what I'm here on this planet to do. And for me to overlook all that's happening and these conversations and this confusion would actually be, I wouldn't be very proud of myself if I didn't take the time out to stop and do this for you guys now. So I'm speaking as somebody who's asymptomatic, has been living my work for 20 years, who's given birth to 3 children in the interim, and is happier and more confident in the work than I have ever been. It's progressively gotten better. So what was great became fantastic, and then, exponentially more and more and more, because as we get older and we have more challenges that we're confronted with, we need to access more resources. We need to be able to climb higher mountains and manage more stormy seas. And so it says so much to get through such a huge chunk of one's life. And let me add that before I got into this work, I was really sick. Anybody who knows my story knows that I was just in a really, really bad way for many years on every level, mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually, every level. And the work that I've done for the last 20 years, the work I teach, the work that the Natalia Rose Institute is all about, addresses all of those areas, all of those levels. So when anybody comes to this work with any issue, they won't just find the solution to that issue, they'll find that the full spectrum of their life can improve, does improve. So let's take a look at the complaints of these individuals who are going so public, so vocally deriding the plant-based diet. Let's look at what their complaints are. They are complaining about the fact that there's a ton of bloating, digestive problems, joint problems, calcification of the entire skeletal system, such that they are feeling very old before their time, that they're looking very old before their time. It goes on, but fundamentally they're talking about joint issues and intestinal inflammation. So when we see inflammation, we know that there's acidity in the body. The body is responding to the acidity. It's kind of like the body's having an allergic reaction to the acidity. When we see intestinal issues, we know that there's waste accumulation, there's gas, noxious gases growing in that waste accumulation, and there's pathogens growing in that waste accumulation, which are largely responsible for the noxious gases. And those pathogens are proliferating and having babies, and their babies are having babies, and so it's growing and colonies are growing. It's colonizing. They're like they're colonizers, they're colonialists, colonizing your body, okay? That's what's happening. So, if we look at a plant-based diet as it should be undertaken, and let me tell you what that should look like. Minimal intake. People eat way too much food, okay? If you say that you're on a plant-based diet, you could be eating celery and arugula and avocados, or you could be eating soy and nuts and seeds and fruits and grains and, throw a few greens in there maybe, and as much sugar as you want. Sugar cane is a plant, right? So, and you could be eating tons of honey and agave nectar and oils, all these things that go into all the fermented foods. So let's not confuse the concept of a plant-based diet with the ideal diet for the human body. Okay, that's number one. Number two, people cannot forget they are coming in with lineage. That means the organs that you came into this world with are defunct. Sorry, hate to break it to you, but you didn't come in with a full deck. Generations and generations of improper eating, improper living, improper thinking, improper feeling, dysfunctional everything led you to who you are right now. So you can thank your lineage for that. But it's a fact that we have to deal with. So, too much food, lineage. And then we have the problem of, remember we talked about lineage, well, that one of those dysfunctional organs happens to be your intestine. So you have a weak intestine that's meant to contend with overeating. I mean, I don't care if you're literally eating greens all day. You need to have 4 stomachs like a cow in order to digest that. Okay, you don't even have one properly operating stomach. So let's look at what a plant-based diet should be. Okay, not what it is, not what people would like to label it and define it as being, because that definition is basically like, it's like a banquet, a smorgasbord, what the French, you know, that we call a buffet. The French say when you overeat, it's called buffet. J'ai bouffé, j'ai trop bouffé. I've eaten way too much. It can also mean that you're actually going to regurgitate. Je veux bouffer. So, anyway, with my limited French, just to understand that basically what we're talking about with the typical plant-based diet is a buffet, whatever you want to call it, of anything and everything. It is chaos. It is too much food, and it's too much variety, and it's too much of everything at once. And the problem is that people are coming off of a mainstream diet looking for a solution, and they hear about veganism, even raw veganism. You can be a raw vegan and still have these concoctions where in a single meal you're mixing starches and nuts and fruits and oils, and your body can't contend with that. The body's not meant to break that down. I joke often with my clients that yes, we have teeth, we have an digestive tract, we have a way. Just because we can speak doesn't mean we should be speaking all day. I try and remind myself of that sometimes when I get intense with the things I want to share. Just because we have a digestive tract does not mean we should be eating all day. It's not mean that we're like designed to consume. Our head is above our stomach. In animals, the head and stomach is pretty much in alignment. So look at a dog or a cat or a sheep or a goat or a cow. They're meant to consume a lot more. Our physiology, our spirituality is meant to have, the way we're built is, it takes that into account. We're evolving beyond the need to consume food as a means of building ourselves. I've got this beautiful sunlit day behind me. I actually have sunflowers on my dress, I just realized. We are people of the sun. First of all, there would be no life on this planet without the sun. You all know that. But the true nourishment is the life force. It's what comes through the sun into us. It's what we are born with innately, inherently, and it is it's synthesized and transmuted into dark leafy greens. That's chlorophyll. So that's synthesized sunlight. If we want to think about where we should be evolving toward from a nutritional standpoint, it's toward the sun. It's toward consuming the sun, which means moving toward an almost entirely green leafy diet. Okay, not plant-based at large. Plant-based, again, it's soy, it's grains, it's nuts, it's seeds, it's fruits of all kinds, most that have been hybridized and are basically pure sugar. So let's think about our evolution as we gain sanity, functional cleanliness, functional order, and a functional connection to where we're going and where we came from. So, all right, so this bloating, this inflammation, this is all coming from taking in the chaos. Now, why are they feeling better after they're going on a meat-based diet? That's probably the question that you're all wondering. Well, they're so much better. Of course they are. Plant-based diet has a ton of inflammatory foods in them and what we call expansive foods. Grains create expansion in the body. They create expansion in the gut. And then you have the animal foods, which are very yang, which are very contracting. So you're probably asking yourselves then, why are they feeling so much better on a meat-based diet? And why are they then touting the benefits of a meat-based diet? Well, their inflammation's going away and their gut biodome isn't so reactionary. Why is this? Okay, first of all, let me also state that these individuals are speaking about this are vocalizing this on social media widely now after only 6 months of being on a meat-based diet. That's really important to take into consideration. Meats and all animal flesh foods and animal-based foods are very contracting. First of all, they have very low water content. Unless you're eating them raw, you're literally like grabbing a bunny from the field and chomping that bunny. I know that sounds horrific, but let's just bring the reality back. Unless you're like, grabbing that cow and that little lamb. They have been dried by cooking and of course over time. So you're getting a very low water content food. And you're getting a food that has the characteristics, the properties that contract in the body. They get smaller. Grain and nuts and fruits all expand in the body. They're expansive foods. I'm not saying they're good. I'm saying they're expansive. I'm not saying right now that the animal flesh is bad. I'm saying it's contracting. So if you've had all of these very expansive foods going into your body, which are of course in their combinations, in the chaos of it all, they're creating, first of all, way too much cellulose. Way too much cellulose. Cellulose mulch. It's the stuff that you chew up. Okay. Too much cellulose. Too much fiber. Just because, this whole fiber story, we need to get into that later. But basically, it's all expanding, which is again creating all that carbonic gas, all the noxious gases, and all those proliferating pathogens. They're just having a field day in that mess. It's all fermenting. That fermentation, that putrefaction is causing all that gas. And that's not leaving the system properly because, again, you didn't come in with a full deck. You have defunct organs, and you're not able to eliminate the quantities that you're taking in. Confirmation from the acorn. So this matter is growing and growing and growing in your body. And here's, days, weeks, months ticking by, maybe more. And you're thinking, well, I'm supposed to be feeling, but maybe at first you were feeling so much better because maybe at first your body didn't get any kinetic energy because you were eating all dehydrated foods with no vitality. And suddenly you're having water-containing foods with a lot of vitality. So they've got a lot of life force. Say you go on a raw vegan diet, suddenly you're getting a lot more water content and you're getting a lot more vitality. And all of that kinetic energy from that food is going to displace the dry, dead food in your body, and you're going to have some what we call beginner's luck in this work. Okay, I'm not operating off beginner's luck anymore, just for the record. This is the longevity of a lifestyle that works. So you have all of this accumulation happening, and then all of a sudden you decide it's not working for you because you're bloated. Naturally you're bloated because there's too much waste and too many noxious gases. And you decide you're going to change. You're going to change things up. You're going to stop with the fruit and the grain and all the vegetable, plants, soy, oils, whatever it is you were doing, and you're going to go meat-based. That means there's no fruit, there's no grain, there's probably maybe nuts if you're going paleo. There may still be oils even, but the absence of all of those foods and the absence of all those expansive foods is now being reduced to nil. What you're left with are completely contracting foods. So even your oils are contracting. Your oils, your butter, your flesh foods, these are all contracting foods. So you're going to have a temporary experience of your body deswelling, which means that your joints are going to feel better temporarily. You're not going to succeed on either this plant-based chaos or on this meat-based diet. Neither one is correct. I always love the expression, when my oppressor gives me two options, I always take the third. That's from a fabulous man called Berliner, who was dealing with the Nazis in Treblinka when they, well, it's a terrible story, I won't tell you about it now. But basically, this is his when put between a rock and a hard place of note, his response was, when my oppressor gives me two options, I always take the third. He shot the Nazi officer, and that was his solution. But I'm not suggesting anyone get violent here, but I am suggesting that we ignore, dismiss, categorically just disregard two options that clearly do not make sense. And what I also find even offensive, because I care about you guys. I'm offended by you guys getting bad information, okay? I find it offensive that those who consider themselves authorities in health, they, first of all, they would say things that aren't true over a prolonged period. Secondly, that they would speak of the virtues of a new path after only experiencing it for 6 months. And thirdly, that I just think it's immature to go from one end of the pendulum to the far other end of the pendulum, just thinking, well, this isn't working, so let me do this way over here. It's completely, it's irrational. It's actually irrational. It's not a sane mindset. It says, okay, well, I'm going to completely flip the coin on this. Because what do we know about coins? Heads and tails, the two sides of the same coin. Okay, we're going to throw that coin out. That coin does not apply. Plant-based chaos and meat-based diet, two sides of the same erroneous, uneducated, ignorant coin. Okay? Bing! Bye-bye coin. Okay? So now, what are we going to look at? How are we going to, there was another great saying, you cannot take away a person's belief system without offering them a better one. Okay, so let's offer you a better one. There is a better one. There's a fantastic one. And that is, number one, let's look at how the body functions, how it operates. We know we came in with this lineage. We know our organs aren't operating at full capacity. We know we need to take in a lot less food. We know that the food we're getting is highly compromised. What do? Number one, we get very comfortable with the fact that we need to really cut back on our consumption. This exploitation that we've been, the entitlement that we've had as humans on this planet, it's so misguided, it's so wrong. There's a term called wetiko, W-E-T-I-K-O, and it's a term that the Native American Indians came up with to explain the psychosis that the settlers had when they came to America and just cannibalized the natives that were living there, the earth. They had zero consciousness, zero consideration of what they were actually consuming. So it's actually a psychological term that describes the psychosis of cannibalism. Okay, wetiko. Look it up. It's an amazing term. We all suffer from wetiko. Okay, I still suffer from wetiko. I'm not taking myself out of the sort of collective problem, but we have to acknowledge it in ourselves in order to at least be minimally possessed with this virus, this pathology. And it's incumbent upon each one of us to check with ourselves to make sure. Stop pointing the finger at everyone else. Oh, you're eating animal products. Oh, you're drinking milk. Oh, that's not going to help anybody. And besides which, it's really important for vegans to remember that agricultural exploitation, let me put it this way, it's really important for vegans to acknowledge, accept, realize that the biggest offender to this planet is agriculture. So it's not necessarily vegan to even have a carrot, because the way produce is raised in this world decimates whole ecosystems. So to raise your soy, to raise your corn, go back to the coin again, to raise your soy, to raise your corn, to raise that which is going to turn into your various oils and the fruit orchards, and the quantities that have to be produced to meet consumption requirements, not requirements, but to meet consumption demands, decimates the planet. So even though you might be eating plants, doesn't mean that animals weren't eviscerated for your plant food. Again, I'm not saying vegans are wrong, I'm not saying they're right, I'm just giving you facts, information here, so that you can choose how you want to engage it with this body, with this world, with each other, with all the living things, so that you can do the right thing and not be confused and extricate yourself from the chaos and be like, I'm not in that two sides of the same coin economy anymore. I'm in a completely different economy, an economy of truth, an economy of functional cleanliness and functional order, an economy that actually provides for my needs and doesn't exploit the needs of other living things in order for me to have those needs met. And there is a way to do that. So first of all, it's minimal consumption. Secondly, it's a highly leafy green diet. The great thing about leafy greens, and I'm getting overly excited here. Like I do get very enthusiastic about this, and I have to, it's like just to take a momentary break. It's when I think about the suffering in the world, when I think about the suffering I experienced before I figured some of these things out, it's crushing, it's mind-numbing, it's heart-wrenching. It is just unbelievable, but it's real. And there's not a single person here on earth who isn't experiencing that to some degree, because we're all connected. So when we talk about happiness and life satisfaction and finding our purpose and all these things, we have to get right. We have to get into alignment before we can experience those things. And when we do, and the degree to which we come into alignment with those things is the degree that we start to experience that happiness and fulfillment. And our prosperity has nothing to do with material means. It's just kind of wells up within us at that point. So if you're not feeling that, then it's time to adjust things. And don't be hard on yourself. Don't be hard on yourself if you feel like you got caught up in dogmatic dietary kind of concepts for a while. Just get right with it now, and there's anything, the body can be restored, everything can be restored if we get into alignment. So with that said, let's get back to the dietetics. So the leafy greens, why are they so amazing? Why are they so right? Well, first of all, they are so nutrient dense. Because why? Because they're filled with the sun. They're soul food. Sun, soleil, soul. It's S-O-L. It's in every in all the European languages, all the Romance languages rather. It's some variation of soul, soleil written. It is it's soul, which means that it has soul force, which means it's coming from spirit. Spirit. You can think of it this way. Think about soul as the sun and spirit as the rays that come off the sun. So it's spirit-infused food, and we are soul and spirit. We have this immense concentration of life force, unfortunately dwindling when we engage with things that will drain it, which is a whole other conversation, which I explain in most of my courses now, because it's the primary conversation we need to be having, an education that we need to receive, which we should have gotten upon birth, and we didn't. But what comes out of us, our rays, our emanations, is what we're expressing and bringing into the world. So if we can increase that soul force, we're going to increase those emanations. We're going to be literally more powerful in the most positive, benevolent way. So we take in something that has soul force as opposed to something that would take away our soul force. In fact, I want to hit on this point. It's very important. When these individuals talk about calories, they misunderstand calories. Everybody misunderstands calories. Let's get really, really clear on calories are. Calories are, yes, a measurement of energy, but they will measure the amount of energy that will go into the being or that can be conducted, as well as the amount of energy that can be removed. So you can eat a high-calorie food that can actually weaken your energetic makeup. So what it is it's an anti-energetic substance. So don't look at calories in terms of their numbers. Throw that out. Ask yourself, is this a donor? Is it energy? Is it a life force donor, or is it a life force robber, a life force stealer? Is it going to remove my vitality? Is it going to remove my life force? Is it going to remove my voltage? Or is it going to conduct voltage and enable me to conduct better within me? And that comes down to a few factors. Number one, when are you taking it in? Are you taking it in when you're stressed, when you're on the go, when you're standing up, when you're in a state of chaos yourself? Don't consume ever when you're in that state. That's another, as long as you're consuming, engaging with what you would take into yourself in a chaotic way, your being is going to be chaotic, and the way you digest and the way your organs function, the way your hormones communicate with each other, all of that is going to be chaotic too. So you must honor yourself and have boundaries around how you engage with what you take in. It's a very intimate act when you consume food. It's as intimate as anything else. You're taking it into your space, into your private, intimate space. The other thing is, what is your body filled with? Is your intestine clean, or is it impacted with a ton of dry waste, like the Arizona desert that can't move? You can put the best foods into that, and they're not going to do much. You have to clean out that impacted waste first, and we do that with enemas and colonics. And I know that not everybody likes to hear that, but really, We should be so happy that they exist. I say this all the time because otherwise there'd be no way out. You know, it'd be like saying, well, I really want a clean room, but I really don't want to take the garbage out of my room. Just embrace the idea of taking the garbage out of your room. I promise you, you'll be that much happier. You'll go in, you can, you know, create a whole new space in there. People are scared about their flora, their intestinal flora. They should not be, because you can't even get to the flora until you remove all that waste. And when you do, the flora that a healthy intestine has, it's cleaned of all this waste, is robust. It doesn't get flushed out with a little bit of water. It's got roots in there. It's like it's got an integrity to it. Your whole body will be restored with integrity. It's not that delicate. It's only inoperable because it doesn't get, we can't get to it, and it's weak because it hasn't had the chance to become what it should be, because it's not getting the oxygen it needs, it's not getting the blood flow it needs, it's not getting the information from the solar energy that it needs. So, you know, we are in formation, but we've been dumbed down. We need to do the opposite of dumbing down, which means we need to put substances in and remove that which should not be there, so that our body can regain its know-how. There's know-how and there's dumbed down. You know where you want to go with that. So it's the state you take it in, it's what's already inside, it's your state of mind, all these things, and it's whether or not you're consistently able to keep your system clean. It's not having one or two colonics or enemas. It's a consistent lifestyle, because if you were to recap what you consumed over your lifetime, it would take you a very long time. If you really got down to the nitty-gritty, every year, every month in that year, your headspace when you did it, like all these things, you could just, you know, give it a couple of years actually just to go over all of that. If you're 20, 30, 40 years old or older, it's more than you can fathom. You know, it's those, I think about it, it's those milk duds I was eating when I was 12, when I loved to go to the movies. I finally got the freedom to go to the movies with my friends, and I would eat all these milk duds. I love milk duds. They are sticky and gluey. I don't know how many of you know about milk duds, but I think they're still around. The Skittles, the milk duds, all these sticky foods, the toffees and the popcorns and all the chemicals that would go into them, all the animal flesh, and I mean, it's just, it gets, and so let me actually, before I lose track too much, the deal with the animal foods, this meat-based diet they're talking about, they're not going to register how much damage that meat has done until it's too late, because it's so contracting. It doesn't show itself. See, the plant-based diet shows itself pretty quickly, because you get bloated and there is all this expansion and you have all these symptoms and you're really gassy, and you know, and there's too much cellulose, and there's no energy because your gut is so blocked, and remember, gas takes up so much space. But hang on a second. That meat is going to accumulate. There's no water content, so there's no way of realizing how much you're consuming. You're taking in too much of it, and this individual, this one particular individual who's touting the benefits of the meat-based diet, he talks about how the eliminations are so minuscule, and he thinks that's because it's not leaving any residue in the body, and there's just hardly anything to release. Oh my gosh, this guy's going to have a day of reckoning. I don't want to be there. I don't want to smell it. Frankly. Anyway, I mean, the halitosis that comes, the stinky breath that comes from a meat-based diet is hideous. Why? Because you are rotting inside. Dead animal flesh is rot, and it's rotting inside your body. And eventually what's going to happen is it's going to create such a pathogenic, parasitic, negative rogue bacteria overload that there will be so many symptoms, too many to count. The gallbladder will be exhausted. The liver will be finished. The bloodstream is going to be filthy. The lymph is going to not know what hit it. The hormones are going to be backfiring like nobody's business. And let's add to that, when we speak about hormones, let's add to that the fact that these animal products are riddled, are filled with hormones. I mean, granted, some people will be getting the wild buffalo meat from Wyoming, and you know, there are ways to get cleaner animal flesh. And again, I'm not saying you can never have the animal flesh, but a meat-based diet, the way this individual's touting it, it's not going to register at first. That's why 6 months in, he's still feeling better. His joints have been relieved. Wait for it. The impaction in the body, the inanimacy, meaning the lack of kinetic energy of this dead food, is sitting there rotting. And you know, when you buy flesh foods in the store, they all have food coloring in them. Because if you saw them in their true color, you would be revolted. You would be so repelled, you would never want to consume it ever again in your life. But you know, they make the salmon pink, and they make the meat red, and they make the chicken white, and you know, otherwise it would all be like shades of pale and gray that, you know, would turn your stomach. Let me bring this all to a close now. I think I've said enough on the subject for now. But first of all, don't let yourselves get confused. Stay sane. Think about functional order and functional cleanliness. Remember that the sun is going to be your greatest indication. Here's a word. I want to look for it. Wait a second. Okay. Remember to let the sun light your path. If you let the sun light your path, you will be in very good shape. And remember that high water content in all the cells and all the organs is essential. So if you do, and I highly recommend you do, recapitulate your life and what you've taken in, you will realize that your body is extremely dry. And when you realize that, you'll see that's why you're not moving your bowels very well, and why there's a lot of, well, there's still going to be a huge amount of fermentation and bloat because of all the gas, but that's not going to change until you remove the waste that's causing the gas. So, you know, to think that you can take some sort of pill to stop the gas, like in America they've got Beano. I remember Beano before, Quiet After. I think that was the ad. Anyway, like, it's suppression, because unless you remove the cause of the gas, you're always going to have the gas, and you're always going to have to take Beano or whatever it is. I mean, I suppose I shouldn't mention brand names here, but you get the idea. Stop addressing the symptoms, address the cause. The root cause is that your body is highly impacted with waste matter, has noxious gases and pathogens growing in it, and that matter needs to leave. That matter and gas needs to leave, and the only thing that will get it to leave is simple, pure water. Don't even worry about all these fancy fandangled things you can put into your colonics and enemas. Just water. Water will reconstitute the waste. It will make that waste kinetic. Only with water and kinetic waste can there be peristalsis. So the muscular contractions in the intestine are going to take hold. They will activate once the waste matter is moist. If the waste matter is dry, it won't. So if you're constipated, that's because there's not enough kinetic energy propelling the peristalsis in your intestine because it's too dry. And in fact, this individual also talks about the fact that once you consume a heavy meat-based diet, coming off of your plant-based diet, you'll have like big episodes of diarrhea. Charming, right? And that's because your body's so actively eager to release all these oxalates and all these issues that your body's taken on because of the plant-based diet. But know this: diarrhea is a form of constipation. If waste isn't leaving, and you're having watery, dark water leave, which is, you know, maybe some waste along with it, but very little, that's still constipation. The fact that this person thinks diarrhea is a sign of the body releasing toxicity is so misguided in and of itself. It means that the body cannot release the toxicity that it's desiring to release in order. The body's always trying to fix itself. It's so innately intelligent. It so wants to get about the business of self-healing. We have to give it the conditions. If we don't give it the conditions, it will try anyway, and it will get frustrated. And that frustration, it will try and do things like, you know, diarrhea is a great example. Night sweats are a great example. Anything where we see the body trying to get rid of waste, but is not fulfilling, let's put it that way. Now, we all know the difference between a great elimination and the body trying to get rid of waste unsuccessfully. Totally different ballgame. We all know the experience of having a deliberate great sweat. We've gone to the sauna, we've had a great workout, you know, we're working in the yard or something. That versus waking up at 3 o'clock in the morning, you know, drenched. One is actually a pleasant experience in its own way. It's a natural effect of a cause that you've set into motion. The other is also a result, an effect of a cause you set into motion, but unknowingly. One you're doing consciously, the other one you're doing unconsciously. So now we just need to become completely conscious, super conscious, because we will become actually more conscious than we've ever been before when we can get this waste out, get these noxious gases out, get all this, your beautiful real estate. You don't want to share it with waste and pathogens and noxious gases. You want it to be functionally ordered and functionally clean. And don't let anyone make you feel that by functionally cleaning and functionally ordering your body that you have an eating disorder or that you are somehow off on some tangent that's dysfunctional. The word keeps coming up. There will be so many critics out there, and you just stay your path. You'll know if you're coming to this work with the right perspective and a healthy understanding of it. And you'll know if you're still carrying baggage from dysfunction and unhealthy approaches to food and diet and eating. Let yourself be sovereign in that. Take ownership, take full responsibility wherever you are. Move toward a higher expression of how you cleanse and how you order not just your body but your whole life. But don't confuse functional order with dysfunctional order. Functional order being things need to be in a certain way in order for energy to flow. Flow is the key. If you look at all the Taoist text, it's all about flow. If Feng Shui and all this stuff, it's all about flow. So the body needs to be ordered in such a way that the energy can flow, right? And there's dysfunctional order, which is like the OCD path, where you're high-strung around everything and you'll freak out if something's not clean. That's dysfunctional order. But functional order is quite, it's a completely necessary thing. It's a centrally important thing. So don't ever feel bad about desiring functional order and or about making it your mission to create functional order in your life, in your body, in your spaces, in your relationships, in your work, whatever that may be. And functional cleanliness is completely different to dysfunctional cleanliness. So functional cleanliness is, I know that in order for there to be balance in the body, balance the scales, which is also justice, which is also, remember, Lady Liberty, justice, liberty is freedom. So we cannot have freedom unless we are clean. Because the functional cleanliness creates balance, okay? So it's not dysfunctional cleanliness, which is, we're talking about, yes, cleanliness. Talking about like this idea of needing everything to be meticulously clean in a way that is overly, sterile. Sterile is dead. It means finito. Sanity means clean. In cleanliness, we have life. So sanity and sterility are complete opposites of each other. Okay, so the people that are after a kind of a sterility in their lives, who are using the hand sanitizers constantly, and there are a million different paths of being dysfunctionally, engaging in dysfunctional cleanliness, but functional cleanliness you can feel very proud of, and actually is a highly admirable, highly noble pursuit, especially in a world that is constantly driving people crazy. Crazy is the opposite of wild. Wild is clean and naturally functionally ordered. Crazy is chaos. So don't ever equate crazy with wild either. So hopefully that brings some sanity to this whole conversation, and I wish you so well, and I know that you're going to find your way wherever you are on this path, and if you haven't already, and I'm here to help and guide wherever I can. So much love. Have a beautiful day. Bye for now.